This week, EVgo confirms their Warren, Michigan station is indeed a flagship, and there actually are additional flagship stations that they have already completed. Electrify America opens 4 stations, and a flagship station of their own is spotted in Brooklyn. And IONNA takes home the prize for first place in the J.D. Power's EVX study for 2026. Let's get into it. I'm here at a IONNA station in Rock Hill, South Carolina off Interstate 77 due to IONNA taking home the prize for first place in the EVX 2026 study, which I'll get into later on. I haven't been to this station before on Out of Spec Bits. I did on my personal channel, but not on Out of Spec Bits. As you can see behind me is a really nice station. Let's go ahead and walk around. Okay, I'd like to start on this side just to kind of get a wide view of the station. Here's my car over here. I'm going to do a charging session in a minute. But just so you can see, we're in the corner of a strip mall, and there is a restaurant over here, and there is another restaurant over here. Now, in this direction, you can see there's a Latin restaurant, a car dealership. This is a Popeyes chicken fast food restaurant, and the anchor amenity, which has got just a tremendous amount of traffic flowing through it. Let me make sure you can see the logo, is the Chick-fil-A right here. And then there's a Dunkin' Donuts just a little bit further down, and then I think there's a McDonald's a little bit further down. So tons of eating and attached amenity options, not only the shopping center. Now, one problem about the shopping center I think is worth calling out. If you look at this parking lot, there's some tree shade, which all the cars over there are parked under. So this is South Carolina, which is hot in the summertime. And then you have this big canopy sitting here, which is awfully tempting. If I'm a car that I'm going to be here at the shopping center, maybe going to the restaurant and eat or whatever, I'd probably want to park in the shade. So I think there might be some problem with icing as time goes on, just because the sheer deliciousness of that canopy providing shade in the South Carolina summer might attract people to ice. But there are plenty of stalls. You see, nobody is using this right now. I am here at ungodly o'clock because I'm an old guy, but it still stands to reason that there's going to be some contention for charging spaces. Now, another thing to call out here, let me back up and swing the drone around again just to get it in focus. This canopy is off script for IONNA. Their color palette is like a purple and orange, and this canopy is all white. I don't know why. It's still the same IONNA logo, but the canopy color is all white, and I'm guessing it might be because of the requirements of the shopping center. He wanted it to match the color palette. When I say he, the owners of the shopping center might have required IONNA to match the color palette of the shopping center, and IONNA had to get the kind of taupe color to the canopy instead. But this is the only place I've seen a canopy of that color. A couple other places where they have deviated from the canopy color palette is a Wawa in Indiana and a Sheetz in Pennsylvania. They matched the color to the site host's color palette. So there has been some deviation. This is not the only one, but this is the only one at a shopping center that has a deviation. So another thing to call out, we have both J3400 and CCS. I see 6 J3400 and 10 CCS, and those stalls are labeled. We also have pull-through stalls. I see trash cans with squeegees that do have fluid, paper towels, and trash cans. Now, the important thing about these trash cans is these have been emptied. Now, this is a busy shopping center, and those have been emptied. You might say, well, of course they have been, Walter. They're trash cans. Someone's got to empty them. I have been to IONNA stations where they haven't really dialed in the servicing of the trash cans, and they will overflow with heavy utilization. But here, all these are recently serviced and nice and clean. And obviously, the Alpitronic HYC 400s in abundance. Going all the way down, the canopy is lit, and the articulating arms that are very recognizable with the HYC 400 kilowatt capable chargers. Swing you around to show you the screen. Shop IONNA.com so we can get some IONNA merch if we want, and plug in. And I'm going to get to my charging session here in just a second. Again, I'm going to swing you around because we have accessibility stalls as well, which is kind of nice to put on the end here because there is a ton of space. They also added the additional lines here for the additional accessibility, and there is that. Very nice looking. Now let's go take a quick look at the transformer. I have been here before, but I forgot what it is. 2000 kVA. So 2000 kVA for how many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16 stalls. Is oversubscribed, but not horribly. And you can see, boy, that Chick-fil-A up there is just absolutely slammed. It's early Saturday morning, so apparently a lot of people go there for breakfast. But a really nice amenity available immediately attached to the station. Let's go ahead and get plugged in and actually see the station work. Okay. I put in frame the screen of the Alpitronic just to kind of demonstrate a point. When I plug in here, I'm a General Motors customer. Two things are going to happen. One, plug and charge should start the session right away. Let's see if that's the case. Assuming so. Yep. 39 cents per kilowatt hour, flat rate, no idle fee. Secondly, as a General Motors customer, I'll be getting a 10% discount. So instead of 39 cents, you can shave 4 pennies off that and it'll be 35 cents per kilowatt hour. And the way the payment process is through General Motors back in Detroit somewhere. It's kind of wonky, but it does actually work. And as I said, I've really become fond of this. Now, I don't know how much of a factor this had in the actual scoring for IONNA, the plug-in charge capability, but I can say as a EV driver and a customer of IONNA, I prefer IONNA stations just for this one feature, the plug-in charge. No app, no credit card, just plug in and the session initiates. The reason being is because I'm inherently lethargic and lazy. When I get out of a car and I've been in it for 3 hours and I just want to go about my business, I just plug in and I walk away. And I've had, I believe, 100% success with plug-in charge at IONNA. I'm at 152 kilowatts right now and ramping down a little bit. I'm at 40% state of charge. And so it just works, you know, kind of like the goal of the experience that they're trying to achieve with it just being a reliable source of electric vehicle charging, in my opinion, goes a long way just with that one feature. And other things that you can do with the app, the screen and other apps, in-dash navigation and whatnot are kind of cool, but that one thing alone is nice. And plus the price, my goodness, 39 cents per kilowatt hour, and as a GM owner, I get 10% discount. As far as I know, that is not has an expiring date on it, so 10% discount in perpetuity as far as I know. Other OEMs, BMW has some discounts, 20% right now until the end of September, and then going to 10% discount thereafter. And probably other OEMs will be joining suit shortly. And, you know, we're under a canopy. We've got garbage cans, squeegees, paper towels, and tons of amenities surrounding. So right off the interstate, we're about half a mile down, maybe a quarter mile down from the interstate exit. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't clock it, but it's a very convenient location. And nothing to complain about here. This is how charging should be. As you can see, definitely an elevated experience. Let's get into the stories. First off, EVgo confirms that the station that had been spotted in Warren, Michigan, across from the General Motors Technical Campus, is indeed one of their flagship stations. And is interesting, the press release has additional information. And let me just read some of the pieces of the press release. And EVgo has definitely been on a press release frenzy as of late, but there's been a lot going on. So I don't blame them for it, trying to like spam us with unnecessary information. These are milestone events that are occurring. So in the press release, it mentions that their newest flagship station, and that word newest caught my attention, in metropolitan Detroit, further advancing the company's efforts to deploy high-powered, customer-focused infrastructure in key markets across the country. With this new site located in partnership with Midwest retailer Meijer, this is definitely something that put me into a tailspin for a bit. More than 40 flagship charging stalls are now open nationwide, and EVgo expects to have over 100 flagship stalls online by the end of 2026. General Motors has contributed to this expansion to aid EV adoption across the United States. So the station in Warren only has 12 stalls, and they mentioned that there's 40 now open nationwide. So where's the other 28? And actually they say more than 40. So it'd have to be at least 29 additional stalls somewhere across the United States that are flagship stations. They don't mention where those are. So I went and did a quick survey of the alternative fuels data center database just to see if I could spot some, and I was just kind of picking some off the list, and I made a quick video on my personal channel, and there was some very interesting discussion in the comments after I made that video. And Eric Way, who runs the News Coolum channel, he's a longtime YouTuber and EV owner. I have tremendous respect for the man, made a very insightful comment where he was saying that if you look at the form factor of the Warren, Michigan station, which is basically 350 kilowatt and pull-through stalls, and try to find stations like those elsewhere, those are likely the missing flagship stations. And prior to him putting that comment, I was kind of speculating that there was a 28 stall in San Diego, California, which is designed for rideshare folk, as a depot for rideshare folk with 200 kilowatt chargers. And it didn't really seem like it fit, but the number was 28. So 28 plus 12 equals 40. That kind of fit. But Eric's analysis that really what we're probably looking at is the form factor of those stations, whether they have a canopy or not, is very likely the missing flagship stations. And he identified two in California that have the same pull-through design and the same prefabricated chargers and dispensers on a concrete skid. And they were right there in front of us. They were just missing the canopy. So kudos to Eric for some very insightful analysis and able to help me out, because I was definitely, grinding my gears trying to figure out where these missing flagship stations are. But we're now in flagship party land with 40 flagship stations, more than 40 flagship charging station stalls now open nationwide, and 100 by the end of 2026. And just going on with the press release, it says EVgo flagships are designed to elevate the EV driver customer experience with high-powered chargers, enhanced lighting, and large stall count locations so that EV drivers can easily access charging. Flagship stations will average up to 20 stalls per site. It says will average up to 20 stalls per site, and often offer convenient access to amenities including shopping, dining, groceries, and other services drivers can take advantage of while they are charging. And for instance, in Warren, Michigan, that is the Meijer, which is the attached amenity offering those services. The latest station, located directly across from GM's technical center at the Meijer Warren store, features an overhead canopy. So this one features an overhead canopy, but apparently not all the flagship stations will feature an overhead canopy. With pull-through access to accommodate vehicles pulling trailers, a mix of 12 CCS and NAC stalls, and 350 kilowatt charging capable of delivering a full charge in as little as 15 minutes depending on the vehicle. Here's a quote by William Hotchkiss, the head of public charging at General Motors. The flagship charging experience demonstrates what is possible when automakers, charging networks, and retailers work together to deliver an elevated customer experience for today's EV drivers. By expanding access to reliable, high-powered charging in convenient locations, we're making the choice to purchase or lease GM 12 different EV models easier. Newest EVgo station at the Meijer's Warren further expands fast charging infrastructure options in Michigan, where the number of EVs in operations increased sixfold from 2021 to 2025. So, additionally, this is an important subnote at the bottom of the press release. As part of the flagship program, EVgo will build flagship stations in California, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Michigan, and Texas. So apparently those are the states where we should be seeing similar flagship stations, some with canopies, apparently some with not. But pull-through seems to be something that they're favoring, and the 350 kilowatt chargers. Separately, EVgo has built nearly 2,400 stalls across 32 states with GM support. EVgo, GM, and Pilot also recently announced their collaborative to pass 1,300 stalls, 300 locations in 40 states. So, mystery solved. We speculated it was a flagship, and we were informed that yes, it is a flagship. And by the way, you missed a couple of others that we've already opened. So, kudos to EVgo. And not only that, there'll be continuing to open flagship stations into to the tune of 100 stalls completed by the end of 2026, according to this press release. And also, going back to their Q2 earnings report slide deck, there was kind of a overlooked point talking about Q4, and the flagship stations coming in Q4. So there's a big build happening in Q4, but it's actually bigger than we expected. When you do the math on one of the bullet points in their slide deck, I come up with 900 stalls that will be operationalized, that's the word they use in the slide deck, in Q4. Now let's just say there's 90 days in a quarter and there's 900 stalls. That's opening 10 stalls per day, every day, 7 days a week, for 3 months straight, is what EVgo is saying is going to happen in Q4 2026. So definitely keep your eyes on the horizon on the EVgo country, because it looks like there's a fury of activity coming in Q4 2026 with openings. So definitely a very resourceful press release that came out here, and I hope they're done with the press releases. Their press release team has definitely been hammering away at the keyboards pretty heavily. And this one was definitely ripe with information. They also, at that station, had a ribbon cutting with Bandar Khan flying in, and folks from General Motors at location. It mentions, who was it? It was William Hotchkiss, the head of public charging at General Motors, was there. And several other people. In LinkedIn, there was multiple people talking about the event where the ribbon was cut in Warren, Michigan. So definitely a marquee event for EVgo and General Motors Energy. Next, Electrify America opened 4 stations this week in a pretty slow week as far as information getting populated into the alternative fuels data center database. And I'm starting to think that the alternative fuels data center database might have had more of a shock to the system from the change of the API DNS that happened a month and a half ago than we initially thought. Sometimes when you do a maintenance like that, you're like, okay, well, that was successful, and you don't know the implication of the fallout for weeks in the future. And that's when things start to collapse. And it seems like for some reason the entries are really starting to slow down, and I don't think it's because of lack of activity. There's some players that are very reliable with putting entries in, which are showing a bit of erratic behavior. But anyway, point being is Electrify America is not one of them. They have 4 stations that opened this past week. We have Riverside, California, 8 stalls. Evolve, New York, which is Electrify America Commercial in Brooklyn, New York, 8 stalls, which is a hard place to build, but Evolve New York has got many stations coming to the Manhattan area. A Athens, Georgia Target, and the Target partnership with Electrify America has definitely been very fruitful. They've been doing a great job. And 12 stalls in Athens, Georgia. And lastly, another Target in Pennsylvania in Glen Mills, which I understand from a user has been a very long time in coming, is now open. And the picture shown in PlugShare seems to indicate that it's right in the middle of a very vibrant shopping center. Electrify America also, I spotted in a PlugShare sweep, apparently is working on another flagship station similar to the indoor one in San Francisco. If you remember the one in San Francisco where you actually get to drive in and charge and then drive out after you fill up. But this one is in Brooklyn, New York. But it's not associated with the Evolve New York builds. This is an Electrify America native station indoors in Brooklyn, New York. Is at 27 Bridge Street, Brooklyn. And the renderings that are on the sign outside of the building that someone took a picture of and put into PlugShare, and when you zoom in, it does show a lounge and indoor charging, exactly the same as what's going on in San Francisco currently. So it looks as though Electrify America has got a build in progress for another flagship station similar to the indoor one in San Francisco, but this time on the East Coast. Okay, now switching to IONNA, and there's a couple of stories here about IONNA, the most important of which is they're awarding first place, the highest score, for the J.D. Power's Customer Satisfaction Survey, which is branded in the industry as the EVX, Electric Vehicle Experience Survey. And let me just read through this because I consider this to be significant for such a young network to take first place in only their second year of operation. This is definitely noteworthy. I'm going to just read this in its entirety. While the study examines public charging experience of EV owners across both level 2 chargers and DC fast chargers, only the DC fast charger segment is award eligible this year. IONNA ranks highest among DC fast chargers with a score of 807. Mercedes-Benz Charging Network, 797 in second place. And the Rivian Adventure Network, 755, ranks third. The U.S. Electric Vehicle Experience Public Charging Study, now in its 6th year, measures EV owner satisfaction with two types of public charging point operators, level 2 charging stations and DC fast charger stations. Satisfaction is measured across 10 factors: ease of charging, speed of charging, physical conditions of charging stations, availability of chargers, convenience of the location, things to do while charging, how safe you feel at this location, ease of finding the location, cost of charging, and ease of payment. Those are the criteria they measure. The study is driven by a collaboration with PlugShare, the leading EV driver app and research firm, leading driver app and research firm. So apparently PlugShare has a research firm in the back rooms as well, by identifying the factors that drive satisfaction. The study provides charging providers with insight to improve customer experience, strengthen loyalty, and increase the likelihood that drivers will return to their networks. It examines consumer attitudes, behavior, satisfaction, setting the standard for benchmarking the overall experience of public EV charging. The 2026 study includes responses of 6,594 owners of battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. The study was fielded from January through June 2026. And initially in its inception, the thought was public fast charging has a problem with end user experience. So J.D. Power started to create something quantifiable in order to say, okay, well, how bad is it? And is it getting better? And this study was, in my opinion, helpful in bringing to light that the charging experience needed to be improved. And it was a conversation going on in the industry, and this study has definitely been helpful in moving the industry along towards a better experience. And this year, IONNA shows that it's possible for a young, scrappy organization to stand up and deliver a product that is able to check all the boxes necessary to land them in first place, at least on this study. And I know for me, I'm very happy with IONNA. I only have a few networks in my navigation system that I'll stop at. I've got Mercedes-Benz, I have IONNA, I have Pilot Flying J, and sometimes ChargePoint. It depends. But really those three are the ones that I'll stop at when I'm on a road trip. And sometimes Tesla. I mean, if there's no other options available, I'll go to a Tesla station. My problem is the charge port door on my Chevrolet Equinox really makes the cable stretching awkward, and then I have to deal with the adapter. At these other stations, I do not. And so it's just an ease of comfort. At Pilot Flying J and IONNA, I have plug and charge, which I've really become fond of. And so all those things together is really making it easier for me. So congratulations to IONNA for coming in first place in the EVX 2026. Additionally, Seth Cutler, the CEO of IONNA, was on the Volts podcast this week, where he spoke of passing the 150 open station mark, among many other things. The Volts podcast does have a free tier to just listen if anyone wants to go over and hear the conversation. It's a Substack app that you download, and then you can listen to the podcasts. I was actually listening to it on the way over to this station. Very insightful. Encourage people to go check that out. And lastly, IONNA is apparently closing in on their 200th location. And this is news to me, but just yesterday, a company called the OSBORNE company posted into LinkedIn the following: milestone mobilization in Sandy, Utah. OSBORNE is officially mobilizing construction on IONNA's 200th location. We are proud to support IONNA's continued growth and help bring another important EV charging destination to life. Sandy, Utah, coming soon. Now, this tells me a couple of things. One, IONNA hasn't stopped constructing stations, which was, Captain Obvious could have told you that. Two, that they're already slotting the opening of their stations to some extent in a order of opening. And three, Sandy, Utah apparently is expected to be the 200th. So right now we're just over 150. That means by the time this is finished, there'll be another 50 more on top of the heap. And I'll have to guess a lot of those are going to be Circle Ks, because the number of Circle Ks that are getting lit and flipped is the majority of what IONNA is doing as of late. So probably 45 Circle Ks and 5 non-Circle Ks, if I had to guess, but just speculating. But point being is that this was very interesting that they not only have their sights set on 200 soon, they apparently have it pretty well dialed in that this station will be their 200th location. Thanks for watching.